Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel on a Tuesday. Um, Hope everybody's had a really good Christmas with family and friends. Um, and tonight we have a full house, really. It's quite a few people on tonight, include one new person, which will be nice. So let's bring Vic on and we can get straight on. Hi, Vic, how are you?
I'm all right, Chris, and I've got the Supporters Club bauble with me.
You got your bauble.
Add a bit of festivity to the proceedings. Yes, I'm
Exactly.
all right, apart from a 4-hour journey back to Devon today, which hasn't put me
No.
in the greatest of moods, but we won't go on about it too much.
No, I did see there was
Well, I
a
will
cold.
do if you don't mind. I will do if you want me to.
No, it's okay. That's fine. Snow drifts last week and hold ups this week, so not
Yeah.
good.
No, never mind.
So tonight we've got quite a few people on. So shall I bring everybody on, or did you want to talk to Darren first on his own?
Let's do a little bit with Darren first about his branch of the Supporters Club, and then we'll get on
There
with the
he
game.
is.
There he
There
is.
we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, I will leave you to it. If there's any questions anybody's got about anything, just let us know. Put it in the comments. We'll get through as many as we can, as we always do. Okay, I will leave you to it, Vic.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. Welcome along. It's a Tuesday night panel. I must remember to say that, not a Monday night panel, as we used to saying. Darren, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, Vic. Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you. And let's talk about what you're up to at the moment. And you're in the Legends Lounge yesterday with your branch of the Supporters Club. Just remind us the title.
So it's the HM Armed Forces, so Forces and Veterans branch of the official Supporters Club. So it's those that have served with the Royal Navy, the Air Force, or indeed the Army, and have indeed relatives who may have served with either of those branches previously. So it's any sort of connection with the armed forces in truth, but particularly trying to keep the veterans connected to the football club.
And the idea behind it is just to get that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we absolutely recognise that there is, and particularly at the moment, a need to enhance the fan experience. I know from my service that there are people who've gone to games on their own and perhaps not been able to connect with people. So we're trying to do that. We absolutely recognise that through COVID and other periods of difficult times that people have had mental health problems as well. So a chance to connect with people, show the support to the football club, and then have those shared values of military service, and along with the club with Salubritas e Industria, yeah, there's so many values there that are connections. So it's trying to bring all of those together.
We all know about Armed Forces Day. When that happens at the football club, it's always a very emotional occasion, isn't it? And that just goes to strength of feeling, shows the strength of feeling towards the armed forces at the football club and in its fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very poignant, and I say that having served over 30 years now, and over time it becomes even more poignant. The connections are deep and meaningful. The football club has been excellent. Rob Angus in particular recently signed a covenant with the football club, and I think, as we found yesterday, so many people have connections not only to the football club but to whether it's brothers, siblings, uncles or whatever, aunties who have served at some point in time, grandparents even. So there is an opportunity to connect and share a story, and of course at the heart of all of that is the love of Swindon Town Football Club that everybody shares. So there's always a bit of inter-rivalry between the services, of course, but yeah, the one thing that brings us all together is our love of football, and of course Swindon Town Football Club.
You were in the Legends yesterday. Will you always be in a prominent position on match days? Is that the idea?
So we're not going to do it all of the time, is the truth of it. We're going to pick our moments. So we recognise that there will be a dispersed fan base with members of the armed forces. So we're going to build it around the festive periods. So those periods where we think people will perhaps be on leave and be able to connect, recognising that they may be returning home. We're also going to look at joining up with the Veterans Breakfast Club in Swindon. So that's an opportunity as well to bring people together separately and then have some regional connections as well. So it's not going to be every week, but certainly I'll be in the Legends Lounge every week. And if people want to turn up and say hello, then we'll be loitering somewhere. And it's just a chance for people to come over and have a chat and talk through any issues they might have. If nothing else, it's a friendly face to talk to, and we can always talk football.
Yeah. What about if people want to get in touch with you confidentially, of course, you would no doubt be able to do that about things. But in the general way of doing it, how would they get in touch?
So through Chris on the admin side. So that's why the connection to the official supporters club is so important to us. That's a proven record of being able to maintain a connection. It doesn't become personality based then. It's very much focused on building this relationship with the club. We've already built a couple of connectors in through the Royal Navy and through the Royal Air Force. So there are sort of reps from each of the services as well. But we're doing it all through the official supporters club. It's to enhance the supporters club, the connection to the football club. We're not trying to do anything independent. It's just trying to bring things together and encourage people to join the supporters club as much as anything else.
Well, it's great to have you on board. I'm not. Is that the right phrase to use to an army person or not?
We'll go for it. I spent a few years supporting the Navy, so I know when I'm adrift, and I've got a few phrases up my sleeve. So no, that's fair enough.
Wonderful, Darren. You'll stay with us to discuss the events of yesterday and perhaps recent times, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. Be delighted to, Vic. Thank you.
Lovely. There we are, Chris. Great to hear Darren's view about the armed forces and how they want to get involved with the supporters club and the football club as well. Very important to have those links. Can't hear you, Chris.
Sorry. We've already had a couple of people actually messaging in saying Tom says 11 years army service, Baz 42 years Royal Marines. So they are watching this tonight, and I do believe, I think Baz is a member. I don't know about Tom, but certainly the idea is to join the supporters club through our website. Then we pass the details on to Darren, and we are always there for support for Darren as well. So if you are watching and you would like to get involved, please go to our website, stfc-osc, and have a look and join up, and then Darren and I will work together and get the contact details, and we'll go from there. So brilliant. Thank you, Darren. So should we bring the others on? So we have Mark.
Hello.
Hello. We have Malcolm, who is sporting a very nice headwear. We have James, and we have Anna. And I don't know if Mr. Hawes will be joining us as well, but we'll see. We may well jump in a minute. Okay. So Malcolm is our new person. So welcome, Malcolm. Hope you enjoy it. And I will leave you to it, and I'll see you all later.
Chris, thank you very much again. I was hoping, Malcolm, you'd leave that on, actually, in tribute to our owner, who is over here again from Australia. So, a fine hat. Leave it on. It's not a problem. Do you want to introduce yourself, Malcolm? Your first time on the panel. Just give us a run through who you are and how long you've been watching the town.
Yes. I've been watching the town since I can remember, really. So that'd be from the early 90s. So I remember bits and pieces from like the 92, 93 season. And then from there onwards, from 93, 94, and then, onwards. And then, long Swindon Town supporter. 36 years old. And, I'm a collector as well. I'm a collector of all things like Swindon Town, really. So when it comes to Swindon Town shirts, Swindon Town first aid covers, Swindon Town, pretty much anything Swindon Town. So anything I get my hands on. Lifelong Swindon Town supporter and all that sort of thing. So, yeah.
How large is your house, just as a matter of interest, when you get all this stuff?
So, I'll be totally really honest with you. I'm still saving to have my own house at the moment. So, still with the parents at the moment. So, I've got it all in my bedroom. So, once I go on my place, I'm gonna have like a proper Swindon Town room, So I have all out. So that's good. So so I look forward to that.
Marvellous. We'll come to the opening ceremony. Thank you very much for joining us. Nice to have you all with us. This is from Old Duffer Ratter. Hello to you, Old Duffer Ratter. I grew up as a scaly brat. My dad was Royal Air Force from leaving school until he retired a warrant officer. So there you are. One of the old Duffers is along with you there, Darren. Mark, hello to you. Very good. A good evening to you.
Hello. How are you, Vic?
I'm all right. Thank you very much indeed. James, hello to you.
Hi, Vic.
And Anna, hello to you.
Hi, Vic.
Right. Let's get on to it then, shall we? Shall we start with you, Darren? Your thoughts on yesterday? Cold afternoon, dry afternoon. Come on, let's have some football. What were your thoughts?
So one of those games where we just struggled. I think it was a typical. I'm going to call it a Division 4 game rather than a League 2. It just felt like an old-fashioned clash of cultures again. I thought we failed to get the energy going early on, and the crowd stayed pretty quiet after about 20 minutes, even with the goal. I thought it was a quiet atmosphere. It just felt like one of those days where everybody wanted it to happen and it just didn't seem to get going. So I think it was disappointing. Once again, lots of build-up play, but no real movement to break things forward. And I think frustrating for me in particular was the inability to beat the first man on the cross, which just seemed to we always got into a reasonable position, but then wasted the opportunity when we got there, in my view. It's a really disappointing way to concede late. Felt really sorry for Scott Lindsay and for the players, because in the circumstance, having a player off the field as well with a blood injury, really, I think all of us would have felt we'd have dealt with that with 11 on the pitch. So a really disappointing way for it to finish, and I think that's what left everybody frustrated and a bit flat. But I'm still of the view, I'm going to Northampton on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. Perpetual hope, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll be going, obviously. Yes. Mark, what about you? What about your thoughts?
More of the same, really. I think we've seen over the last 6 or 7 games after the Mansfield game, it's gone fairly wrong, hasn't it, really? I think we all got to be realistic about that. We've scored 3 goals in 7 games. We don't look like we're going to score goals. We're reasonably solid. I think we're lacking several players. So for me, the next 3 or 4 weeks is a huge time for the football club. Either we show some ambition and back the manager, or really we settle for mid-table mediocrity, because I think our position in 5th is a false position. I think we're a game or 2 ahead of other teams. And I think the way we're going at the moment, I could see us finishing mid-table or even worse. So really either back the manager, or I'm afraid perhaps a change is needed. And I don't want to call for the manager's head. I know there are lots of people who are doing that. But at the same time, there have to be more than one way of winning a football match. You don't win a football match by having 65% possession. You win a football match by getting the ball in the box, creating chances. When you put the ball in the box, not to have a 5'9", 5'10" striker, but have 3 or 4 players all busting a gut to try and get in there to try and score a goal. Because that, after all, is what's going to win football matches, not having 60 to 65% possession. That's irrelevant.
Malcolm, obviously, scoring goals. We had 3 shots on target yesterday, 2 of which were from Iandolo and the goal. So we had 1 other shot on target. It's not rocket science, is it, to work out what the problem is?
Yeah, that's right. It's great for him to get that goal, and it was a great goal as well, great cross and everything. Like when I obviously saw yourself at the Barrow game, and it kind of felt like with the Barrow game, compare that to yesterday's game, it was like as if the Barrow game was like a home game. It sort of felt like the way we played and everything. We just really brilliant game against Barrow. It played so well, and then against when yesterday, it's weird. I don't know whether they got confused because they're playing team or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, we had our little moments yesterday. We had especially, with Darcy being my man of the match, he seemed to try and create things. He had some good ones to it, but other than that, he had these odd little 5-second moments, and then it's sort of nothing's just seemed to happen, did it? And you think after that first goal, that cracking goal, you kind of feel it didn't help when we conceded that goal just before half time, and so I don't think obviously that helps. And it was just it ended up being one of those games, didn't it?
Yeah, it certainly did. Mr. Hall's welcome late on parade, but we won't penalise you for that. There might be a fine incoming, but we'll let you know about that in due course. Might have to make you take your hat off at some point. Welcome anyway. James, your thought on that? This is a point that says, how much is the lack of atmosphere and the crowd affecting the performance? I saw Darcy trying to raise the crowd. Thoughts? Well, we know, apologies to Mr. Halls, it's okay. We know that there are moves to try to increase the atmosphere at the county ground, and Darcy was going around waving his arms like that and trying to get the crowd going. But at the end of the day, we know why the crowd is quiet. I mean, we could hear the Walsall fans quite clearly yesterday. And in a 10,000 crowd, that shouldn't really happen, should it?
No. I mean, they had 400 or 500, didn't they? But I think, yeah, you're right. When there's kind of late 9,000 odd kind of Swindon fans, you really shouldn't be able to hear 400 Walsall fans. I think I actually thought we started off okay yesterday. I thought, the first half, we actually looked quite decent, had some reasonable energy, and but I think the thing that's really hurting us is, for whatever reason, we just do not seem to be able to get decent balls into the box. And then when we do get the odd decent ball in the box, there's no one there. It's become extremely, I think, as Mark said, it's become a bit of a consistent pattern over the last number of months, and it just feels like at the moment that's not going to break. And I actually think that even if we do bring in a new forward, whoever that forward is in January, I don't actually think that's okay. It'll probably make some decent difference, but I think actually the area where we really need to focus is getting the damn ball in the box and getting some decent balls. So many balls yesterday went in too high, the ball went out. I don't know what's happened to Hutton, but the beginning of the season he's on fire, and now it just seems to be devoid of being able to get a decent ball in the box. And when he does, there's no one there. So, yeah, very, very disappointing, very frustrating. And the problem is you've got a number of new fans. I mean, I knew of probably 25 people yesterday that were going to their first Swindon Town game, being taken by friends, whatever, they're there for Boxing Day. I guarantee you probably 90% of those won't go again after watching that. So that's the worst thing, I think, really, that we're just going to see fans dropping away and no new fans joining if we carry on playing like that.
Well, lots of comments coming in, and bearing in mind what you just said about chances and shots and crosses and stuff. Steve says, in fairness, we don't take the opportunities we make, shots at goal and create chances. Paul says, need to win games, end of, all else is pie in the sky. We're very mediocre at the present. Hello, Dads. Players need to raise their game as well as the manager. One up front, once again, clueless. Mark says, don't panic. Charlie is on his way. We'll discuss that. Maybe Andrew Halls has been at a press conference and he's going to tell us all about it in a minute. Silence, says he says. Where else have we got? Tom says, slow to get the ball forward, especially from the keeper. If the games lift and we play to our support would be good. Mark says, what's Di Canio up to these days? Interesting. Anyway, Anna, what are your thoughts on yesterday?
I mean, there are lots of problems, aren't there, I think. But just to call out a couple that really stood out for me yesterday, and Darren touched on it as well at the beginning, the fact that Fraser Blake-Tracy was off the pitch at that corner. I mean, no, Lindsay, I thought, was pretty good about it when he spoke after the game, and not, obviously I suppose there are reasons for this law being in place. But ironically, if the keeper, for example, had also been down after clashing with Blake-Tracy, both get to stay on the pitch. So for me, we're penalised unfairly for something which is clearly an injury, which it's not a fake. He hasn't gone down to waste time. So that I found extremely irritating, and I agree that I don't think we would have conceded at that point had Blake-Tracy been on the pitch, because he's one of those players at defensive corners that really attacks the ball, and he's very good in the air. So that really annoyed me. That notwithstanding, of course, we didn't deserve to win the game. We're not creating enough. And to talk about the attack, if you look at the BBC website when they had the lineups from yesterday's game, they've got Wakeling in the middle, and then they've got Shade and Williams alongside him, like a 4-3-3. Well, clearly that wasn't the case yesterday, because Wakeling is almost on his own. He's not the man to spearhead an attack. He's not a target man, and you've got to feel sorry for him. 2 months ago, he's signing a new contract of 3 years, and now he's kind of been hung out to dry in many respects. He runs his legs off. He's got absolutely no chance of getting a good chance on goal because he's not getting the right support. If you're pushing him forward as a spearhead, and then you've got Shade and Williams alongside, that's fine. But I think both Williams and Shade yesterday were underperforming. I think we agree that, and you can hear from the stands that Shade is very quickly becoming kind of the crowd's whipping boy, and I guess for some good reasons, in that I think there's a good player in there somewhere. You know, he's got some sort of physical presence which we lack in most other areas of the pitch in terms of, you know, size and height, but he's not showing what he needs to show. But if you're getting 3 players forward on the attack and you've got options coming forward, like the 50-yard run Gladwin made, you know, he's got other options, then obviously the play opens up, and the balls going into the box actually meet a player. But you know, that's just not happening. And the other thing to mention for yesterday for me was that the defensive pairing for Walsall of Daniels and Monty, they were exceptional. Let's be fair to them on that. That you know, Wakeling was up against, you know, a giant of a man, and not only was he good in the air and physically strong, but he was also quite quick. So Wakeling couldn't even beat him to the ball for pace. You know, but we've got lots of problems to iron out, haven't we? And something needs to change quickly if we're not to, you know, slide down the table further and drop out of the playoffs, I think. So so let's see, and hopefully something will transform us at some point, and hopefully soon.
Well, Derek says playing one small forward at home when the opposition have 3 big defenders is a major problem. Ben says Charlie Austin won't work, in my opinion. Can't see our game being changed. Hello, Ray. Let's be honest, we have no forward. So when we get the ball, the 2 short midfielders, the facts are our manager is not good enough, sitting behind the bench. Why are the 3 assistants animated more than the manager? Will Johnny Williams stay in Jan? If he goes, we're in a whole world of trouble. Kevin says no spine in the team. I think the players are good, just need someone to build their confidence and worth. Andrew, you obviously spoke to Scott Lindsay after the game. What was his mood? You said it was bullish, disappointed. How would you describe it?
He was, I think, sort of unexpectedly critical, perhaps. I mean, he normally treads sort of quite a fine line between expressing sort of, you know, kind of general unhappiness about a performance, but he did kind of get stuck into it reasonably robustly. I don't think he's ever going to be one to kind of you know, sort of thump his fist on the table and go, that's not good enough. But he did say the words, it wasn't good enough and it lacked lots of things, and he wasn't. I suppose the more concerning thing is there were no sort of obvious solutions to hand as to why they kind of came out and weren't able to get close to the sort of performance they've had at Barrow elusively. But yeah, I think he did sort of feel quite let down. I think, especially with the defending for the winning goal, because he pointed like we all did to the man of the match by a street, Blake Tracy being off. And you know, I think you can really do about it in the rules, but he did cite that. But yeah, not happy. I'm going to be quite intrigued by whatever selection gets rolled out against Northampton. We have the sort of pre-match stuff for that tomorrow, Vic, not today. So I don't have any new press conferences to update you with. But
no, I was thinking that you might.
I'm sure will inform us in great detail of what's.
I thought I was hoping it might have been to a news conference from some other reason that might have happened, but obviously.
Well, I didn't invite me.
Right, let's. That rule, Andrew. It just seems. Just explain it, because there Fraser Blake Tracy was off. He tried to put his shirt back on. Then he knocked out the things that were in his nose. I think that were obviously it was an injury to his nose, wasn't it? Then he tried to get his shirt back on again. And all this delay was going on, and then of course we conceded. You know, it's not rocket science, is it? So it's a pretty daft rule, isn't it?
I don't think it's particularly helpful, is it? But I suppose the idea is that if you are down and if you are down and you're getting treatment, then it deters sort of time wasting later on. I suppose, you know, although Dan and Jay will tell you otherwise, but I guess that's the theory, isn't it?
Okay, just some news from SAS Travel, who are taking bookings tonight, by the way. Northampton, there are still 8 seats available for Thursday, open until 8 p.m. for bookings on the usual method. I think they're on the phone tonight. Colchester, 2 seats remaining for Sunday. Last chance to book it tonight. Won't be open Thursday. Oops, no, fully booked for Sunday. Thanks. So that's the latest news from SAS Travel. They're open as we speak. Right, lots of comments coming in. So I'll throw one of these to you, Darren. Let's have a look. Ian Rogers says Lindsay should take a long, hard look at himself. His negative attitude towards subs and trying to win games at home isn't helping at all. Taking off Wakeling again when we should have gone 2 up top. Time for a complete change in the coaching structure. All 3 inexperience. It's clearly showing. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think we all want Scott Lindsay to succeed. I do. I've always said that, and I stand by it. But what are your thoughts on this? It's a tough one. Norwich have changed today. Are we at that time of year? What's going on, do you think?
So I don't want to see a change. I think he needs a chance. He could have gone, of course, in the summer, could have taken a really easy option to go to South East London and didn't. He wants success for the football club as much as the players do and the fans do. So I'd like to see us sort of try to get behind him and give him the support. I think he tried to change the game yesterday, 56th minute. I think he made the 2 subs, and I thought they made a difference. Clearly not a big enough difference, but I thought, as Anna touched on earlier, I thought Gladwin brought some energy and drive on the pitch and tried to make a difference. And I thought equally with Hepburn Murphy, there was energy and a bit of guile. Actually, he was a different sort of problem for the big centre half. So I think our inconsistency is a worry. And I think so I'm going to sound a bit odd now, but it's the consistency of the problems. The inability to score, the inability to change things. There is a consistency there, and we go from the sublime to the ridiculous. That's one of the challenges, but I do want him to put it right. I think he deserves the opportunity and a bit of loyalty. And Clem obviously thought he was the right guy for the job, and he sees what they're up to. And there's no doubt in my mind they'll be working really hard. And what we've just got to work on ourselves is a bit of patience, perhaps, and see what the next 5 games hold. I think the next 5 are crucial, and there's probably a tipping point there in somebody's mind of, some people think we'll get 15 out of 15. 9 out of 15 would be a really good result in my view. If you're getting down to 3 and 15, it's looking really difficult, I think. But I want him to do well. I want the club to do well, and the next 5 are key. Let's get behind him.
Tony says, problem is Sandro and his method of selecting players not man enough for this league. Also coaching on set plays, not good enough. Caught out again. David, hello to you. I would like to have seen an apology to the fans come from Lindsay when being interviewed. Stephen says, to be successful on the football side, you need people to drive things on. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're in a lay-by broken down. Where are we, Mark? I mean, all right, we're 5th in the league, but as we know, other teams have games in hand. Where are we? Are we 5th in the league, really, or not 5th in the league? What would you say?
No, I don't think we are probably realistically 5th in the league. I said earlier on, I think we're probably more a mid-table side. I disagree with Darren to an extent in the sense that the substitutions were just like-for-like substitutions. You take off one 5'9" striker, you bring another one on. Why not put 2 strikers on? Why not try and change the game that way? This for me is where we do have a problem with the coaching. We do have a problem with the setup. And like Darren, like everybody else, make no bones about it, I want Scott Lindsay to succeed because you're right. He's shown some loyalty to Swindon Town and we should show some loyalty to him. But I don't think he's got past this idea that you can only win a game one way. Why not go long for 10 minutes? What have you got to lose by changing the game and putting 2 strikers on rather than just... And I think there's a player in Hepburn Murphy as well, definitely. There's definitely a player there, as there is with Wakeling. But you couldn't play the 2 together. They're too similar. I don't think Jephcott and Wakeling works either. So I know Adeloy probably has got problems with his confidence. So either you play him or you get another big striker in who can hold the ball up. And in the Tyrese Simpson mould, I don't think you can persist in playing small strikers against huge defenders because it clearly isn't working. 3 goals in 7 games will tell you that. And Darren's right. The next 5 games are crucial. And we've got to, we managed to eke out a win at Barrow, which was great. You might say that was a one-off. But if you could build on that, and that's why yesterday was so disappointing because we didn't, then you might be looking at playoffs. But otherwise, it's mid-table and people are just not going to accept that. There's 5 seasons out of 6 in League 2. We're not a League 2 team. We're a League 1 football club. That's where we should be as a minimum. We need to show some ambition. So that ambition for me starts now in the window. 3 weeks, until the end of January, 4 weeks or so, get some players in. Let's see if we can mount a challenge properly on this league.
Yeah, as I've said many times, I'm heartily sick of this league. I hate it with a passion, and I want to get out of it as quickly as possible. I was accused of being a happy clapper for celebrating the fact that we won at Barrow. I refuse to apologise for celebrating the fact that we won at Barrow. I refuse to apologise ever for celebrating a win. So there you are.
It was a good win.
Yeah, it was a good win. Malcolm, you were there. You were sat behind me. It was a win. We take 3 points. Thanks very much indeed. But you've got 2 really difficult games coming up. Northampton, obviously pushing up towards the top, and a place we never play well at Colchester. It's always a horrible place to go to. What are your thoughts on those 2 matches?
Yeah, those 2 games, like you say,
We're having real trouble hearing you, Malcolm. I don't know whether you can do something with the microphone, tap it or something like that.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Northampton and Colchester, like you say, they're going to be tough tests. And like we're going back to the Barrow game as well, and yeah, like being a good 1-0 win. Yeah, it's like you say, great to get that win. We just need to. It's like we lost the art of. Well, it's obviously nice to get the win altogether, but just having that art of finishing games off like a 2-0, 3-0 or something. Just have that sort of cushion, and I think that will obviously give us the confidence in going forward then with the next few games. So it's going to be, we just need to find that spark again, because it's just gone a bit too predictable with our play at the moment. And it's like what Mark was saying, to be honest, just to change it a little bit, just to see how it goes. Just what's to lose, like Mark said. And just go from there, really. Just change it a bit and give it a go. Because even though we're 5th in the league, and we're not, when you look at it, 5th, but then it's like when you look at the next half of the season, we definitely need to, I think, not only sort of equal to what we've already done, but to try and have a better second half of the season to have a chance in being in the playoffs at the moment as it stands, how we're playing. It's going to be two tests coming up in the moment, like you say, with those 2 games coming up. They're going to be tough away from home.
Yeah, I've always liked celebrating News Day in Colchester. Nothing against Colchester, but hey, injury situation not helping Scott Lindsay. We've not got the killer instinct like at Mansfield. We have the ability to pass through midfields and defences. It's the last quarter we struggle. We don't use the pockets and the pace of our youngsters. Face facts, guys, makes no difference who holds the title of manager. We would all want that person to succeed. I also don't agree that we're a League One club at present. We are what we are, a very average-looking League Two side. Sean says we are a League Two team, but not a League Two club. All you hear is positive attacking football is what we're meant to play. I've yet to see it, says Marcus. Weekly ball fest. To win games, you need to put the ball in the undin yet. The manager's clueless. Sorry, Scott, says Mark Jeffries. Lots of comments coming in. James, where are we at then, do you think, in terms of the season? We're halfway through it. We are 5th. That performance at Mansfield stands head and shoulders above every other game, really. Where are we at?
I think the Mansfield game is a long and distant memory, isn't it, really, now? I wish we could have continued from that. But I think a couple of things. I think Andrew made a good point to the manager in his post-match interview on the game yesterday. I think, if we basically duplicated what we've done in the first half of the season, in the second half of the season, we'd be borderline playoffs. We're not even guaranteed playoffs. So we basically need to push forward. We need more points in the second half of the season to guarantee us a playoff place. We're not really in the right, we're 2 games behind a lot of players. A lot of teams at the moment. So really, we could be as worse off as 10th, 11th. My view is we've suffered quite a lot with some key players being injured. I mean, Gladwin, obviously one of them. Obviously, we've lost Williams for a period of time. Although actually, since he's been back, he hasn't really kind of found his form yet. I know it's in a few games. I just think we need to get our better players back from injury. Hopefully, Khan being on the bench, obviously, means he can kind of start playing. I think we're going to lose Reed in January, so Khan's going to get more kind of game time. But I think ultimately, we need to get those players back. that are better players back, like Gladwin, like some of the defenders. Ultimately, I kind of agree. I don't think we've got a plan B at the moment at all. We've not had a plan B all season. I think if we are going to get Austin in, I think we need another striker as well, a different type of striker, more on the kind of Simpson mould, so we can actually play a plan B and actually push the ball up quicker to kind of that kind of target man, so we can change the game. But I think the worrying thing for me, and I said it in previous point earlier, is we're just not getting ball in the box, or any decent ball in the box. That's the worrying thing. You don't mind some, most managers will tell you they don't mind missing chances as long as you're getting into those chances. But we're not missing chances. We're not getting the chances. That's the worrying thing for me. And that's when your football club really is in trouble, and that's the problem for me. I think, we can put as many strikers in the box as we like, but if we don't get the ball in the box, then they're not going to score. So, yes, we need some strikers, but we also need to think about, why aren't we getting those balls in the box? And that's the key thing for me. But yeah, it's January, as we've all said before, is exceptionally important. And I think, they really need to show some positivity and ultimately, back the manager in order to kind of help us to have a second half of the season that's better than the first half.
I think what didn't help yesterday, it was so blessed cold. Well, didn't really help, did it? You're sitting there not that excited about things. Kevin says, can we get a couple of players over 6'5"? Reed going is down to Sandro. We can talk about form all we want, but the bottom line is he's the best midfielder in the league on his day. We're prepared to let him go. Have the club actually said they're prepared to let him go?
No, but I think judging by his walk around yesterday after the game, it looked like goodbye was my interpretation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martin, hello, Martin. He says we're missing Jack Payne, the link between midfield and the attack. It was suggested earlier on, a certain player from Exeter called Matt J. Really good little player. Hey, Anna, January, very important, isn't it? I mean, goodness me. We're not out of the woods we're not out of the reckoning in terms of getting in the playoffs, let's be honest. But, and that's a big but, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, my question for on the pitch, and it kind of follows off the pitch as well, is what is the Swindon way? So the Swindon way, in terms of our brand of football for long standing, has been a passing game. But you don't get goals, you don't get it in the onion bag by passing around in our half of the pitch. So 65-70% possession is pretty much no good if you haven't got the forward runs being made and you haven't got a forward to hold it up. So off the pitch, and talking about the January transfer window, that's what we need to be looking at. We need to really have a good assessment of, do we have players within the club who can contribute in that manner, i.e. get the ball forward more quickly, hold the ball up, bring others into play, or do we need to bring people in? And I think, I've said this before, that I think there's some talent at the club which is untapped, which needs to be brought out by the coaching staff, if the coaching staff are good enough to do that, because that's what clubs do. You don't just go every 5 minutes, we're not performing, let's bring in another player, because you'd be chopping and changing every transfer window. But clearly, the Swindon way, the big problem with the Swindon way at the moment is, in the last 10 minutes, if you need to win the game or you need to claw it back, we can't play long ball because it's just gobbled up by the large opposition defenders. So if you want to have some sort of recourse in the last few minutes, you need somebody big up there. So forget the Swindon way in that respect. You need to think about, okay, this is League Two. We've been here for a while. We're not really moving upwards. Let's bring somebody big in who can take advantage of Hutton's long throws, for example. We've never really done long throws. He's been doing long throws yesterday. It was a bit pointless because they were just gobbled up, weren't they, by the Walsall defence? But so I think you need this season or next season, if we're still in League Two, you need a big man with physical presence. We've got no physical presence up front at all, and that is a big problem. So, a brand of football being attractive is fine, but attractive football means passing the ball quickly, getting into the box and scoring, not passing it across the defence constantly. And you noticed Blake Tracy yesterday a few times was saying, where are my options? He was following forward because he had no options. Well, where are the people dropping deep and then turning and going? We just don't. They're just not delivering that for us at the moment. And I do think we've got the players in there, but for some reason they are not delivering what we need. So we turn our attention to the transfer window because that's kind of our source of hope, isn't it? So let's see what happens.
Steve said the fact that we're fifth goes to show how the other clubs are in the league. We have the squad to take this league apart. Just tactics continuing to play out from the back is obvious to every team we play. We're not quick enough or slick enough in our passing game to always play that way. And Mark, 13 shots, only 3 on target. Scotland said pre-season there is no plan B, says Lee. Just press harder. As Makari said, the more times the ball's in the box, the more chances of scoring. Tony says, I fear February, March, when the season tickets come up for next season, I think supporters will walk. Oakland View, hello. I don't know what to do or say for the better when it comes to our Swindon. We might be fifth, but to me it feels like we're in the bottom half. Sorry to be negative. History show Swindon way to 2 strikers up front. And Ian says, well said, Anna. So there you are. And a round of applause. Andrew, obviously it's a busy time coming up for you. Not only have you got games to worry about, but you've got the transfer window, which is always a nightmare for football reporters. I know that. In my day, it used to be the transfer deadline day.
We're very grateful for you making us focus on it non-stop for a month.
Yeah, but in my day, it was a transfer deadline day. It didn't have this ridiculous window where it all went on. But what do you know about what they're looking for? Do you have any idea?
We did an interview with Sandro yesterday. He did say the aspirations ideally are to keep Reed, Williams and Gladwin are all in their last 6 months. But of course, the downside is if they indicate they don't particularly want to stay on, you've got to sell them now to get any money. Otherwise, they disappear off on the Bosman ruling. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I think there's the one obvious striker who was watching yesterday we know about. Again, they talked about liking to keep Blake Tracy. They've backed off a little bit on signing Jeffcott, although there's a deal in place to be triggered if they hit the button. But they have a big advantage having checked earlier because he's played for Plymouth this season and now he's played for Swindon. And of course, you can't play for 3 clubs. So Jeffcott basically is stuck. If he wants football, he pretty much has to stay with us on loan for the rest of the season because, as you all know, Vic, Plymouth are doing very well. So if he goes back, he's not likely to see too much game time. So there's lots of talk about some players coming in, but I do think the squad's fairly large already. So there's going to have to be some movement out, but it's who do you get out when they're not playing particularly well? Can you loan some out? Does it make a significant difference to your budget if you say to some of the youngsters who are out on loan at sort of National League South and below that we don't really see a future for you? It probably doesn't. So they've certainly talked quite positively in terms of trying to get Austin, trying to keep Jeffcott, trying to keep Blake Tracy. But presumably at some point you've got to work out what to do with them if you're not going to have a 15-player bomb squad running around the pitch while the first team does its stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it'll be an interesting month coming up. There's no question about that. All right, so there's more comments coming in. Is that next curry being prepared there, Mark, for you? Is that,
It is. Something like that.
Yeah, very so what are the thoughts on areas to improve? Obviously, Austin is a big rumour, but what about paying back to support Reed in the midfield? Let's go around the panel then. Darren, if you were to get a player back or in, who would that player be for a start off? I mean, Charlie Austin is the rumour. He was there yesterday. Blah, 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 blah.
I'd love to see Austin come back as long as it's not disruptive to the squad. I think he will create a worry psychologically for other teams. So he will drag 2 defenders away and I think create space. And he's wily in that sense. So I'd really like to see him to come in. If he doesn't, then it does need to be a sort of a target man in my view, so that we can mix things up. I think one of our challenges around the final third has been what we do with it around the 18-yard box. That's been one of the challenges. We're always looking to go wide, in my view, and bringing a cross from the width, looking across the 6-yard box. I'd like to see crosses coming in from a bit deeper, and I think that's the sort of thing that Austin or another centre forward could get on, maybe even Jeffcott, is the truth of it. If you were to ask me what else I'd quite like to see, I'd love to see Clayton back. I think I'd love to see him come back. That would be like a new signing. But equally, and I'm going to test some people, I suspect, with the era, but I'd like to see a Scott Leach type centre midfielder as well. Somebody who would really lift the centre midfield, put in a few challenges and just drive things from the middle of the park. I think the spine is there with Reed when we're playing in a certain way, but if we're going to change the style, I think we need a tough tackling midfielder in there as well. Too many times yesterday, the ball broke away from us when we felt we should have. I'll go centre forward first, Scott Leach second, as in a Scott Leach type of centre midfielder. And I think we've missed Clayton, is the truth of it.
Yeah, fair play with that one. Mark, where are you with this?
In terms of signings, yeah, I agree with more or less what Darren said. I think Fraser Blake Tracy is an absolute must. I think he's somebody we need to look to sign because he's been probably our best player in the last 6 to 8 games for me. He stands head and shoulders above everybody else. I agree with Darren about Clayton's a big miss. Have to buy a striker, absolutely, or get one. I'm still not sure that Jeffcott is the answer because he hasn't got the physical presence. Too similar to Wakeley, in my opinion. A left footer to go by people on the outside. We haven't got one. Lavinia keeps cutting in. Good player that I think potentially that he is. We need a left-footed player and definitely a ball-winning midfielder. You know, how many times have we seen this season Swindon players being out-muscled in what is perhaps not a great league tactically, but a physical league? You know, I went to Stevenage, we're out-muscled there, out-muscled by Northampton, same again yesterday, same at Crawley by a really poor side. We need to have some physical presence in this side. Lightweight players will not cut it. We will not get in the playoffs with lightweight players.
Fair enough. Paul says, absolutely, Darren, physical presence. Austin is injury prone, won't fit into our gameplay at the moment. Billy Painter and Charlie Austin work well. Not always a need for big strikers, just a good partnership. How lucky we were with Duncan Shearer, Steve White. We were spoilt. Hate to look back, but it was good. Look at the season with Glenn Hoddle. Let's have a look. We need a big hold-up man. Malcolm, where are you then with what you would like to see?
Yeah, so I agree with Darren and Mark. With Darren saying about Clayton, Mark with Blake Tracy. I've always thought Blake Tracy is a quality player, and it'd just be so nice if we could sign him. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Joe Tomlinson as well. It'd just be so nice if he'd come back because obviously being a Swindon fan as well, and he's such a great player and he played so well for us. And even to the point where, like, if it was to be Tomlinson and Blake Tracy at the back, and I'm just like, you know, just as a start, you know, that would have been brilliant. Because I'm not entirely sure about. I mean, I love to like him, and I like all Swindon Town players really. I don't like to dislike anyone, but what's his name? Sorry, the captain,
McDonald.
Angus McDonald. Is. I mean, I think Blake Tracy and Gavin, they to me seem more of a leader than McDonald. I'm not too sure about him in a minute, but yeah, I think Clayton, Blake Tracy, I agree with for sure. And I can't obviously see it happening, but Tomlinson, that'd be amazing if he come back. With the striker point of view, I think it'd be nice for Austin to come back. That'd be great. But I agree with what Anna said earlier, is that we still need someone like a Simpson, really, as well. If we were to get Austin, we still need to get like a Simpson sort of character. So I think, I mean, I can't think of any other players at the moment, but yeah, for sure, like those players. I mean, with obviously Sol Bryn, you know, that's another one, isn't it? I don't think we'd be able to keep all of them, will we? Because it'd be so nice if we could, but yeah, so
I don't think we'll get Sol Bryn somehow. I think he's destined for higher things, one would imagine.
For sure.
I'd like us to try for Joe Tomlinson because left back's always been a problem position. Another centre back because of injuries within the squad. We need a combative midfielder, 2 centre forwards, and a winger like Isgrove. But as Andrew correctly stated, who wants our fringe players when they can't force their way into the squad? And love Fraser Blake Tracy, says Ian Rogers. we got to change, Sandra, the way we play. Does Scott have influence players on the players we need? Where's Lydon these days? Has he left? I think he's left, hasn't he, Andrew? Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, I thought he had. There was Brandon Cooper, I think. Is that the name of the Swansea central player that we had? I mean, James, he was terrific, wasn't he? Unfortunately got injured, but somebody in that mould, because he was a real leader, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really liked him. And I think, we've been linked with him several times since he left. I think there's 3 or 4 other clubs that are interested in him as well, from what I can gather. One in League One. So whether or not we managed to pull that one off or not, I don't know. Yeah, but we definitely need some additional leadership on the pitch. I kind of agree with I think Malcolm made the point about leadership on the pitch. I'm not sure about McDonald as a leader, if I'm honest. I think Gladwin does a good job. You can see when he is captain that he's trying to organise them on the pitch. And I know Scott thinks he's kind of almost like having a coach on the pitch ultimately, which is great. But I kind of agree with everyone, what everyone said, really. I think we need a left footer to get the ball in the box. I think we need some extra defensive cover, central defensive cover. I think we need 2 strikers. One, I think, sounds like it's going to be Austin if they can get it over the line. But yeah, we definitely need a target man so we can play plan B. And I'd like to see us go in for, a kind of Grant type midfield player. Scott Leach was a good, a good suggestion. That type of player, really. So I think all those things combined, I think are important. I also think we need another goalkeeper. So I don't think we're going to find Sol gets called back. I think from gathering from the press conference the other day, it seems like they're going to allow him to stay for the rest of the season. So, but if he gets injured, we're in trouble. So I think we do need maybe some additional cover in that area. But let's see what kind of comes about. It would be lovely to get Tomlinson back because he's a really nice guy and also an exceptionally good player. So let's see what happens there. Yeah,
it'd be nice to get things done early, wouldn't it? Need a Luke Nyholt type midfielder, says Claire. Dad says you can get all the strikers you want, but if you don't get the ball to them sideways and backwards, what's the point? Anna, what about you? Kevin says, looks like we need a complete new team again. We're not going to go that far, I don't think. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is League Two, isn't it? So we want a striker who's big. We want physical presence. We want somebody who can hold it up. We want somebody who can bring others into play. Well, at League Two level, we're not going to get that, are we, realistically? But I think what we also need to look for in a player, and presumably we will make some signings, is we need to look at the right characteristics of that player and the right character of that player. So we've got a lot of younger players who I think need some experience in there. Not just from the perspective of, I've done this and I've seen this before, but bringing others into play and being a leader on the pitch. So, we talked about Gladwin being that coach on the pitch. You've got an old head in Angus MacDonald. But I really want to see some of this experience up front, I think. And this is obviously where Austin would fit in. If he's keen on doing coaching badges as well, then he's not just going to come to play. He's going to look to develop that aspect of his career. So we can it sounds like we need to cover in all positions, but I think we need to focus on the attack really and experience and the right sort of characteristics. So I really hope Blake Tracy and Bryn will stay. I think they've been outstanding. I think Blake Tracy is so consistent as a player that I can't imagine what Burton would have seen in him that made them want to loan him out, to be perfectly honest. And Bryn saved us a few times yesterday. So, we want everything and we're not going to get everything, are we? No. We're going to get them. And rightly, some players need to be moved on just to make space for the incomers. But again, I do think we need to look at the squad we've got now and work out, what potential is untapped that we need to get into. Aguiar, what's happened to Aguiar? I know he was ill, but we haven't seen, he's underperforming. He's recently signed an extension to a contract as well, hasn't he? So what is happening with those players that somehow are not developing further? So let's, you know, we haven't got oodles of money, have we? You know, Clem is not going to put his hand in his pocket big time, and yet, you know, we're all crying out for something different. We're crying out for that catalyst that will change what we think is the current direction of the season into upwards, as opposed to, you know, the trajectory that we think it's following at the moment. So fingers crossed, I guess, that we get some positive news.
Mike says Charlie Austin will bang the goals away in League Two. The thing is, Andrew, the days of signing sort of big name players in the fourth division at the end of their career are kind of over, aren't they? So this is why the Charlie Austin link is so newsworthy, because it's so rare to get a player who's proven himself at a higher level, isn't it?
Yeah, especially the sort of the Premier League players, kind of, you know, your Mark Nobles or whatever have earned so much money that when they're kind of at the end of their career at West Ham, they don't have to do anything they don't want to. Really, they don't have to suddenly decide, I probably need like 12 months at Tranmere at £700 a week. You know, I don't think that's quite the concern that it used to be for them. So no, there isn't that. So, you know, the Austin thing is certainly intriguing, because there does appear to be some sort of sentiment from him driven behind it, which is nice and very welcome. It's nice to have a player actually be sentimental about us, really, isn't it? Rather than disappear over the horizon at the first sign of a contract at a better team somewhere else. Can I divert you very quickly?
Yes, you can indeed.
I think there's been a fair sort of bit of like how bad we are at defending set pieces. So I have taken a quick look here, and you may or may not be surprised to know that we are joint 10th in terms of conceding from set pieces. We conceded 5 set piece goals, so we're somewhere in the middle. We're doing all right. And the top two, unfortunately, are Northampton and Walsall, that we both conceded set piece goals against. So it's extremely annoying. It might not have happened with Blake Tracy there, but there's a bit of context. There are 2 late goals we've conceded to lose have been against 2 of the sides who are at best of them, and they were full of clever ideas. Walsall yesterday from free kicks and corners. They never seem to be the same. Sorry, get back on topic.
So are you saying we're not quite as bad as many people think we are?
I still think we have the very fundamental problem that everyone's talked about the quality of service to strikers and finding them in decent positions inside the box. We did that occasionally yesterday, but again, Walsall are incredibly good at blocking shots. I thought we got a reasonable number of shots away, but every time Monthor, Daniels, or Kinsella or whoever were there. I don't think I don't think I can kid anyone and say we look like a playoff side. I'm just hoping that, given the individual qualities in the squad, it's not as far away as it might appear. But I think I'm concerned. I think it feels very close to sort of tipping, and I think from what everyone else has said here, you can tell that patience is wearing politely in sort of most cases, but noticeably thin.
Here's the thought. Claire says, get Matt Ritchie back. Newcastle don't need him anymore. Left-footed and link back up with Austin. Wow. If you get Matt Ritchie.
That'd be nice.
I think we'd all jump through little hoops if that happened. I can't quite see that. Darren, can you quite see Matt Ritchie coming back? I mean, he must have made squillions now in his football career. I don't know. I mean, I think he enjoyed his time. He certainly enjoyed his time under Di Canio. So, hey, you know.
I don't think people. I agree with Andrew. Not many folk want to come back. There's a draw. I think Charlie's talked about unfinished business. I don't think Matt Ritchie would feel he's got unfinished business at Swindon. I think he would see he's got a talent that would be able to play at a higher level than this. But my goodness, there's a moment. I mean, what a great job Eddie Howe's done up there, because he wasn't even when we talk about leadership, he went into a role where he wasn't the first pick. And that put a bit of pressure on him. I would think he's done a brilliant job up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's second in the league. I mean, goodness me, what are Newcastle fans moaning about at the minute? They haven't got anything, have they, to moan about? Let's be honest. So let's be fair. Right, let's go around quickly. Then we've got 2 away games coming up: Northampton, then a delightful trip to Colchester. The buses leave for 4:00, by the way, to Northampton on Thursday this week. 4:00 on Thursday in the afternoon, and then 9:30 on New Year's Day. So if you're going to Colchester New Year's Day, 9:30. Might be a little bit early for some of you. 2 away games coming up then, Darren. What are your thoughts? Then we got a break, of course. No game on the 7th of January. What are your thoughts?
So, to be fair, I felt the Walsall game was going to be a tough game because they were unbeaten, I think, in about 8 going into it. So I saw this being a very difficult period. I think we'll do a brilliant. It would be a brilliant result to get a point at Northampton. So I'm being honest. I think we'll go there and lose and put on a brave performance, but I think we'll probably lose 2-0. Colchester settle for a point. If we can nick a win, it'd be brilliant. But I think I'm going to be, I'm going to be pragmatic. I think 1 point from 6 is likely.
Mark?
Sorry.
6 points. No danger.
Okay. What do you really think?
I don't know. Yeah, difficult to see us getting anything in at Northampton, and traditionally we don't do very well at Colchester. So maybe we could squeeze out 1 win of the 2 and get 3. Let's go for 1 win of the 2 and be optimistic.
Malcolm?
Yeah, tough one. It all goes down to what Swindon Town turn up. So probably something like a hard-fought 1-1 draw, maybe at Northampton. Colchester, I don't know. I could end up being like, well, I like to think maybe if we can try and squeeze a 1-0 or something, but even then, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's hard to know what Swindon Town's going to turn up, really. But yeah, I reckon 1-1 Northampton. I'll stick with my guns. I'll stick with 1-0 Swindon at Colchester. Fingers crossed.
4 points. 4 points out of 6. Fabulous. Derek says, I've already gone into hiding, Vic. Yeah, Derek lives in Northampton, just in case you don't know. All this amazing Newcastle stuff. Eddie Howe's been much less influential than Saudi money. Well, there is the Saudi money factor involved, of course, but there we are. Right, James, 4 points out of 6 says Malcolm. Are you going to raise the bar or lower it?
Oh, crikey. I wish I could be that confident, if I'm honest. Let's start off with Colchester. We never do well there, so that's a loss as far as I'm concerned. And I think we'll get a hard-fought draw at Northampton because we seem to do relatively well at Northampton when we played there. So I'm going to go with 1 point.
Okay, we seem to have lost Malcolm somehow, but hopefully he'll come back. Andrew said, did you do both of them then, James? A point?
Yeah, so 1 point, a point against Northampton and a loss against Colchester.
Okay. Andrew says 1-1 draw against 9 men at Colchester. My, how that cost us last season. We think we all know that one. Anna?
Yeah, I mean, I fear for us at Northampton if we play like we did yesterday. We need to set ourselves up a little bit differently, I think, because we could be in for a real hammering. I personally have a pretty good record at Northampton, though, so you have to retain a little bit of optimism. But anything other than a defeat would be fantastic there. And then New Year's Day, if we're going to Colchester, I mean, Colchester are shocking. I know they won yesterday, but they won against an even worse side. So, we have to go to Colchester and think we can get something out of that game. And if we don't, then if we get 0 points out of 6, I think we've really got to, something big has to change. I can't call either of them. I just hope we don't get hammered at Northampton. I'm feeling a bit, depressed after yesterday, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah, just can't call it. I don't know what the Swindon team is going to turn up. I don't know whether it's going to be a Barrow performance, whether it's going to be a Walsall performance. But clearly, there's going to be a great following, isn't there, at Northampton? About 1,300 tickets we've sold. So hopefully that will make a difference as well, and we'll get behind the team and maybe. Who knows? Let's see. Northampton are unbeaten, I think, in a while, aren't they? About time we beat them. Something beat them. So I'm not going to call them.
Another one. Jordan Lydon's winner at Northampton. Gosh, the last away went.
Yeah, what memory that was.
Yeah. The last away game before COVID, if I remember rightly. What a game that was, and what a moment that was. What a performance! I think it was from Tom Broadbent as well, wasn't it? It was magnificent. Came onto the sub that night. Unbelievable. Andrew, where are you with this then?
I fear Northampton a bit because they're probably a slightly better version of Walsall, if you see what I mean. I think they've got a lot of the sort of similar strengths in terms of, working really well from free kicks and corners and all that stuff and trying to pick us off on the counter. So we're not really trying to see us getting much there. And as Anna said, Colchester are having a pretty horrendous run, even though they've changed the manager. The optimist says we'll go and win at Colchester, but if we don't, it leaves a big long gap in the schedule with a lot of people very disgruntled, a lot of noise to make, and there'll be a lot of pressure on in that sort of 2 week space if it's 0 points out, 0 or maybe 1 point out of 6. So let's go for 3 and pray for some calm, shall we?
I think the enticement of Grimsby on the 14th, isn't it? Is that the next? That's the
the next home game.
Yes. Yeah, that's real excitement for you, isn't it? Anyway, thank you very much indeed to the panel. Nice to see Malcolm come back again. I don't know where you went, but nice of you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, disappeared. There we are, Chris. Lots of views, lots of comments. Thank you very much indeed to you and Mark for sending those through. Thank you very much. So we got through a lot.
We did tonight. Very good. So thank you very much, everybody on the panel. That was brilliant. As we say, lots of discussions. And as we say, it's all constructive criticism that we do on here. So brilliant. So thank you for watching. We are back next Monday with Darren Ward. Somebody mentioned his name to us at the Barrow game. We managed to get him, so that's good. So it does work. So if there is anybody that you want us to get on the sofa, please let us know, and we will try our best to do that. So next Monday, 7 o'clock as usual. Everything else, thank you again, panel. Thank you very much for watching. And see you all at Northampton, whoever's travelling, or Colchester. And if we don't see you, a Happy New Year to you all. Okay, so thank you very much.